Today I wanted to read a short story from Dr. Wilson's book called Strange Short Stories. And I've read these after a few of the meals at church and such, and I particularly like this one. It's called It Is Peculiar. The strange things in nature which surround us daily and which we seldom notice are of the greatest interest, and reveal the wonderful knowledge and wisdom of a personal God. The mother opossum carries her babies on her back. There is very little hair on her body, and therefore the babies would have nothing to hold on to if they were on her back. God has made provision for this situation by teaching the mother to curl her long, stiff tail up over her back to her head. The babies jump up on each side of her back and curl their tails around her tail. In this way, there will be 4 or 5 of the babies hanging securely on each side of the mother's body. Those on one side counterbalance the weight of those on the other side. Who taught the opossum this trick? Is there a school in which opossums are trained? Did some great atheist or infidel suggest this method of transportation to the opossum family and teach them to do it? The lark is perhaps the most beautiful of all singing birds. The bird itself is not so attractive, but its song baffles description. Many poems have been composed about the entrancing strains that emanate from this little throat. Many stories have been told of its wonderful song. In all of these poetic efforts, however, nothing is said about the feet of the lark. No one would ever sing about the lark's feet. They are ugly and quite out of proportion in size. The toes are unusually long and covered with rough, unsightly growths. Did God make a mistake when he gave the lark her beautiful voice, so exquisitely rich, yet gave her such unsightly feet? No, God always doeth all things well. The lark does not build a nest, but lays her 2 eggs on the ground in some small depression, perhaps at the edge of the field or of a pasture. If any danger should arise whereby her eggs might be destroyed, she picks up these 2 eggs in her 2 feet and flies away with them, to deposit them in a place that would be much more safe from intruders. Her toes are extra long so they can enclose the egg without crushing it, and are made horny and rough so the egg will not slip out and fall. The God who thus cares for the little lark cares more deeply for you. Why not trust him with your problems? The peculiar gait of the elephant has no doubt attracted your attention as it swung along the street in the circus parade. It seemed so cumbersome and awkward in its movements, yet it may be that you did not discover the reason. The elephant, as you know, has the largest and heaviest body of any living animal. Other animals are able to rise from the ground on 2 legs. The cow, whose hind legs bend backwards, lifts its body first on its hind legs, then completes its rising motion by the front legs. The horse, whose hind legs who also bend backward, reverses the operation. It rises first on its front legs, then completes the job by lifting the remainder of its body with the hinder legs. Why do these animals not rise from the ground in the same way? What light does the hypothesis of Darwinian evolution shed on this peculiar characteristic? The hind legs of the elephant are quite unlike the hind legs of other quadrupeds, in that they bend forward just like the front legs. The wise provision of God was rendered necessary because of the great weight of the body. The elephant could not lift the tremendous weight on 2 legs alone. It must use all 4 of its legs to lift so many pounds into an upright position. The God who fitted the elephant to carry its burden is able to fit you to carry yours. Will you let him? Migratory birds change their habitat with the seasons. In the autumn, the birds fly from the north and fly to the warm, sunny south. In the spring, these same birds return to their northern feeding grounds to remain for the rest of the summer season. It must be noted with much interest that myriads of fish in the northern waters of the ocean swim to the southern seas and the warmer habitat at the very same time that the birds begin to fly to the southern clime. How can the birds and fish prognosticate? How do they know what is coming in the next few weeks? To what schoolroom did they go in order to learn geography? They have no navigation instruments either for air or for water, yet they will return to the very location from which they left. The God who made them, the Lord who endowed them with instinct, a personal living God who is wonderfully working, he only can perform such a miracle. Let him give you his new nature through saving faith in Jesus Christ, his Son. Now the seawater is filled with salt. Many of the fish which we eat are taken from this salt water. Have you ever noticed that none of these fish are salty? All fish taken from the ocean must be salted at the table or at the cannery before the meat is tasty and fit to eat. Why is it that a fish can live all its life in salt water, yet none of the salt gets into it? That is just another touch of God's handiwork. The Christian is reminded by this incident that though we live in the world, we are not of the world, and the world should not be in us. We may live many years in the very midst of the world with its pleasures, its attractions, its allurements, yet be wholly separated unto God. Do you know who teaches the bird to build a nest? The baby birds were not around when mother built the nest in which they were hatched. I have never seen baby birds receiving instructions on nest building. I do not know of any college professor who specializes in teaching birds to build nests. I did observe one day a sparrow trying to begin the construction of a nest under the eaves of the house near my window. The wind was blowing that day in fitful gusts. As fast as she would bring a bit of yarn or a piece of grass up to the beam, the wind would blow it away. The little bird was not to be whipped in this manner, and I saw her do a most unusual thing. She brought a bit of grass up to its place and stood on it as the gust of wind blew. Then she quickly darted down for another piece, and thus she performed between the gusts of wind until the nest was formed and anchored. She learned this trick from the God who doeth all things well. A bird which has been hatched in an incubator and has never seen a nest nor another bird will build a perfectly good nest of the sort which is built by its kind, and will lay her infertile eggs in that nest. No wonder Job's pride was humbled when God said to him, "Doth the hawk fly by thy wisdom?" Job 39:26. And "Doth the eagle mount up at thy command and make her nest on high?" Job 39:27. God performs an engineering feat which man would like very much indeed to understand. A limb 9 inches in diameter will grow straight out from a tree 32 inches in diameter, projecting 50 feet and weighing 1,000 pounds. Several men could sit on this limb, adding another 1,000 pounds of weight. The fibers of this limb do not penetrate the tree more than half its diameter, which would be 16 inches. Do you know of any engineer who could devise, or any material which could stand the strain if man should seek to duplicate this? If this secret could be discovered, a bridge could be thrown across the Hudson River by anchoring only to one side. How marvelous are thy works, O God!